All right, well, no intro music this morning, apparently, because it's not playing, so we're going to go right into our guest on the line right now. Once again, welcome to Cheap Heat Radio for February 11th, 2008, and on the line we've got our guest, Jamie Dundee.
Good morning, Gene, and good morning to all the great listeners of Blog Talk Radio. I heard that there were so many people calling in last time wanting to talk to the Iceman that we're going to give them one more chance. So here we are live, and let's get it going, Gene. Tell them.
All right, man, we're here, and I tell you, like Jamie said, he's been here before. One of our most popular interviews, our most downloaded interview of all the interviews we've done. And I got a lot of feedback, a lot of emails. I was telling Jamie, I got a lot of emails from fans, from workers, from everybody talking about his last interview and what a good interview it was, and a lot of the great points you made about current indie wrestling, about Memphis wrestling, and said a lot of things that needed to be said that not a lot of people had the balls to come out and say, and Jamie did, and we've got him back here today, so we're going to take advantage of it and ask him some more stuff. Talking about Memphis wrestling, a promotion you worked for in Memphis, I'd say around 98, 99, was Kick-Ass Wrestling,
right.
Ran by Terry Golden. Yes. And tell us a little bit about Kick-Ass Wrestling and your time there.
Well, what Terry Golden did was he took my dad, me, Wolfie D, he took Stephen Dunn, himself, Molly Cruz, a lot of guys around the Memphis area that I think at that time they had that Randy Hills and Lawler had started that, what was that called, Power Pro Wrestling or something?
Yes.
I think they had Power Pro Wrestling, and so all of us that didn't work for Power Pro Wrestling, we went and worked for Terry Golden. And we made it kind of like an ECW-style wrestling. The fans brought the weapons. We run it in bars. We run it on Beale Street in downtown Memphis. So it was really for the older crowd. It was called Kick-Ass Wrestling, of course, so it wasn't for a family atmosphere. It was for the older, the 18 to 30-year-old males really is what it was for, and it was a really good company, and we were actually kicking Lawler's ass in the ratings on television, and Terry Golden just, I guess, got tired of messing with wrestling and the wrestling business because he's a smart businessman, and I think he finally just got rid of all that and actually got him a job in WWF doing something. I don't really remember what it was, and he just shut it down and went on up, but we ran that for about a year and a half, if I'm not mistaken, and it was doing really well, and but, it's all about money, and Vince McMahon offered him the right amount of money, and he got rid of it and shut it down and went and worked for Vince, and the rest from there is history. I guess he's the only one with all the copies, so I know he's listening. So, Terry Golden, get that stuff on DVD. The world wants to see it, man.
That's right, because there was some good stuff come out of them KEW shows, and a lot of good workers there.
Yeah, he brought in lots of good, like I said, he brought in a lot of wrestlers that just didn't want to go to Power Pro Wrestling. Like when the USWA shut down, whatever that whole deal was that closed that down, to me, that's when Memphis wrestling ended. And so, and I think for a lot of other wrestlers too that know how great Memphis wrestling was, it was just, it was no good. So you didn't want to be associated with it. And Terry Golden had opened something new and something different. And so that's where me and Wolfie and a lot of the guys went, was to work for Terry Golden.
Now, this is kind of jumping to a different time frame, but I had somebody email me, wanted me to ask you this question, so I want to go ahead and get it in now while I'm thinking of it.
Okay.
Back in December, you and your dad, Bill Dundee, came to Mississippi to work a show for All Pro Wrestling.
Right.
You worked a couple guys named Anton and Brandon Barbwire, and those guys catch a lot of flack in this area for different reasons, and they just wanted to get your opinion of what you thought of working those guys and what you thought of that show in general.
Well, that is the one that me and my dad went down, way down to Mississippi. I remember what you're talking about. It was outside. It was a very entertaining match. The two guys that we wrestled were very entertaining. One was a real big guy. And we just did a lot of comedy and a lot of entertaining, and, I had no problem with it. I thought the company was fine. The guys were just like any other wrestlers. They're learning to wrestle, and they're trying their best and working anywhere they can to learn how to wrestle. And so, me and my dad went down there. I think it was it Christmas, right around Christmas?
Yeah, it was around Christmas time.
Yeah, and we went down there, and we wrestled, and to me, it was, the guys were all, just young, trying to start and get a job, and the match itself was very entertaining, and the people really were with it, so I have nothing bad to say about them, but I enjoyed it, and I appreciate it, and if they want to use me again, give Bill Dundee a call, we'll get there.
Good deal, because they run pretty regularly, so. Now, I apologize for the fact this is going to be skipping all over.
No, that's all right.
Page, time frame-wise.
Sorry.
But another question somebody had is, you talked about in your other shoots in detail your last night in the WWF the Raw, where you and Wolfie had to go out and work the LOD.
Right.
And you talked about the fact that Paul Lee assured you that going out and doing the job for LOD would not affect your status in ECW. It wouldn't take you out of the main event.
Right.
Now, we know that turned out to not be true.
Of course.
So, do you feel that had you walked out that night and not did the match with LOD, do you think your ECW tenure would have turned out differently, or would that have possibly spelled the end since Paul Lee was secretly working with WWE?
Right. See, that's where it goes to the it's like when I said to him, hey, Paul Lee, if I go to the ring and do this job right now, does that affect my status in your company in any way? And he says, no, Jamie, everybody knows that WWF is a work. But he really couldn't say to me, yes, Jamie, walk out, because he didn't want me. You understand? Because he's working with them, he can't very well say to me, yes, Jamie, get your shit and get out of this building. That way you and Wolfie can still work for my main event. Now, like you said, if we would have just walked, then again, it goes back to, if we would have walked, then Vince McMahon probably would have said to him, look, they just walked out and didn't do my job. Don't you use them? So either way, it was a catch-20. You know what I'm saying? Either way we were screwed. He couldn't very much tell me don't do the job, and he couldn't very much tell me to walk out. But then again, if we did walk out, then like I just said, I'm sure, because back then nobody knew that he was in with Vince like that, you know. So I'm sure it would have screwed us either way. So I'm sure no matter what, right there it was done. We were caught in the middle of that right there, which was just happened to be at the wrong place, at the wrong time. We were caught in the middle of that little deal. And so now, if he wasn't working for Vince, you know, secretly inside behind the scenes, then of course when we would have walked, we would have still been in the main events with the Eliminators. No big deal, you know. But since he was working with Vince, he couldn't very well tell us to walk, and he couldn't very well tell us not to walk, and so it wouldn't. I don't think it would have turned out no different. I really don't.
Right. Now, speaking of you and Wolfie, I know, you know, Wolfie's pretty much made it known he's pretty much done with the wrestling business, but do you think that there's a chance that Wolfie may ever come back to maybe do like a one-night PG-13 reunion?
Well, actually, now that you've asked that question, Wolfie D is going to do one night. It's going to be on March the 4th at a company called XCW Midwest. It's run in New Albany, Indiana, at the New Albany National Guard Armory. What we're going to do is, it's called the Louisville Legend Show. We're going to bring in Doug Gilbert, Ricky Morton, my brother-in-law, beautiful Bobby Eaton. We're going to bring in the superstar himself, Bill Dundee's coming back, and he's going to tag team with JC Ice and Wolfie D for one night only. PG-13 is going to reunite. It's going to be a six-man PG-13 and superstar Bill Dundee versus Chris Michaels, Todd Morton, and Bull Payne at the XCW Midwest in New Albany National Guard Armory on March the 4th. But that is the only time Wolfie D is going to wrestle again, because he don't want to wrestle. He don't like it, which is pretty smart, I reckon. And but one night only, we are going to put us back together, because enough's enough. And I finally got him to agree to come one night only. So March the 4th, those you folks in Louisville area, New Albany, Indiana area, XCW Midwest on March the 4th. It's going to be a really good show. We got lots of good Southern old-time wrestling stars coming in, man.
And I tell you, for guys like me that are way too far away to make it to the show, if I'm not mistaken, XCW Midwest DVDs are available through smartmarkvideo.com.
Yes, they are. So they will be there to film that one on this one. They haven't been at the last two shows, but they did the first four we did. And then they will be at the big one here.
So keep an eye on their website after a few weeks after that show, and you'll be able to get that on DVD. Because that's definitely the last match of PG-13. That's definitely something everybody's going to want to check out.
Yeah, that is the last one. It's the first one in 6-8 years, because he was slashed for a couple of years, and then he's been out about 4 years. So I guess the last time we were actually PG-13 was about 2001, I'd say. So
it was one of those reunion shows at the Coliseum, wasn't it? I believe.
Actually, I don't think so. I think the last time we were PG-13 was for WCW in 2001.
Oh, okay.
We were doing that little deal there, and then after that, Wolfie became Slash and went to TNA, and I went to jail. So at least we both went somewhere.
Now, since you brought that up, we'll skip that question right now. When you first came out of jail, you were going around doing the convict gimmick based off of that. And again, one of those things where, like you say, it's rooted in reality. You did that for a little while, but you dropped it. How come you went away from that?
I dropped it. I didn't drop it. Everybody else dropped it. Like the promoters didn't want me to be a convict. I think they wanted JC Ice or Jamie Dundee. You know,
right?
They didn't. So really, basically, I didn't drop it. Like a lot of people wouldn't let me do it. Like when I took my dad's place one time in Memphis to wrestle Kid Cash for Corey Macklin and them, they didn't want me to wear that convict. And I said, well, look, this is what I'm doing now, and if you want me to take my dad's place, I'm wearing this. But, of course, you know, everybody's bitching, oh, Jamie, we didn't want that, whatever. But, I mean, it didn't bother me or nobody else because people that knew me knew I really did just get out of jail. So the gimmick fit, you know, that I did it as a tryout for TNA, too, as the convict. That's what I went as. But nobody wanted me to be a convict. I mean, I'm not a convict, but, you know, I went to jail, but still, for child support. So I guess, I don't know, I guess they just didn't want me to do it. But whatever. Just pay me, you know what I'm saying? I wear a dress, they pay me the right amount of money. I don't care, just pay me.
That makes sense.
I'm going to get over it no matter what outfit I got on because I'm good at this.
So, how was your time in WCW? How did you like working for WCW in comparison to your time in WWF?
I liked it a lot better myself because, I guess also because the politics wasn't nowhere near as bad as it was. It might have been in the back, you know, like in behind-the-scenes shit or whatever, but hell, me and Whoopi would just fly up on Monday nights, do the Nitro. And then whenever they had a show on Tuesday that we would stay over and do, too, that played on Saturday. I don't remember what the hell the name of that show was. But anyway, we would do the Monday and Tuesday and come home. And so we didn't have to work nowhere else, just do the Monday and Tuesday and keep that money. So really, that's all we were doing. And Jeff Jarrett was the one that got us our little spot there. And I enjoyed it because I thought I liked it a lot better. I liked the guys a lot better. And I just thought WCW was much better than WWF. And I hate that it closed. But, you know, the Vin man, he's trying to wrap it all up.
Now, how did you find out about the closing of WCW?
Well, I found out about it because, you know, at that time, me and Wolfie were, you know, hanging with Jeff every week, so we would all meet in Nashville and fly up together. So, you know, we just found out through Jeff Jarrett, more or less, that, you know, hey, this company's fixing to go close, and so-and-so sold it to so-and-so or some whatever. And so it's time to go look for another place to work, which, of course, there wasn't the one because there ain't no more wrestling, really. So
Right. So, let's see what we should go with next here. Who would you say is the stiffest guys you ever worked that you just dreaded getting in the ring with?
Bill Dundee. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, he was pretty stiff, but the stiffest guys that me and Wolfie used to go, which goes back to that WWF firing deal, it kind of helped because the Eliminators were stiff, man. That Perry Saturn and John Cronus were really stiff. So, in a way, it was kind of good because my money didn't change, but just the match position changed. So our money didn't change, and they put us with Spike Dudley and Mikey Whipwreck. So really, it was kind of a blessing, and it was kind of good because them Eliminators were stiff, man. They were really stiff. They were probably, but I mean, that's not on purpose. You understand? I mean,
right.
That's just how they worked, and they were, everybody knows who they are. John Cronus, you know, he's passed on, God rest his soul, and then Perry Saturn. So them two are probably the stiffest guys I could think of working. Besides my dad in the backyard when I did something wrong, you know, didn't take the garbage out or whatever the hell it was I did wrong that week. He was pretty stiff back then too.
How did you enjoy working your matches with the Dudleys?
I loved working with the Dudleys. When we were working with the Dudleys, they were still, you know, kind of green, so they would listen to me and Wolfie a lot, and so I liked working with them. And, you know, I'll tell you, so you don't really realize how big them boys are. I mean, until you're with them, because I watched that Hardcore Heaven 97. It was on that 24/7 on demand a couple months ago, and I watched it back, and I was really little then. Not that I'm big now or nothing, but I was thinking, damn, look at the size of that Bubba Ray Dudley, man.
Yeah.
You know, I never really realized how big they were until I watched that match back. But I enjoyed working with them because they're from the old school way, too. You know, they could work that Tennessee-style wrestling, and we could, you know, and I enjoyed working with them, you know.
Now, when you were in ECW, one of the things that you were famous for, well, as you are everywhere you work, but especially there, was the pre-match mic spills that got the crowd worked up.
Right.
Now, did Paul ever tell you, hey, Jamie, go out there and work the crowd, or is that just something that you started on your own?
Yeah, that's something that just started because that was something that kind of just started. I would just say, give me a microphone, and I would just take a microphone. We would go to the ring, and then I started doing little burn jokes or something, you know, at the front. And then from there, it just like every week, Paulie would say, okay, Dundee, you know, you got 4.5 minutes. Here, get you 4.5 minutes, you know, blah, 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 blah. So then, you know, that's how that all came up. So it really wasn't, but that's why, like I say, if the shit script wrote, it don't draw, it don't work. If you do it for real, you know, it's something that just comes about. That's why it draws and it works, because it's from the heart. You believe it and it's real because you believe it yourself. So then the people believe it. And so that's what I just wrote on the Southern thing, because everybody up north thinks we all just a bunch of inbred hillbillies anyway if you live below the Mason-Dixon line anyway. So I just played on that, you know, and it worked. And the people really, they used to really, they loved that. They loved the first 4 or 5 minutes of, you know, me doing the little burns and the jokes and all that stuff, and then get in there, and of course we could work too, so, you know, that all that together made it nice.
Right. But yeah, they still talk about that now. There was, like, on Wrestling Classics board a week or two ago, there's people posting YouTube videos of just your, you know, burns out there before the matches.
No crowd. I'm about to go check that out then, because I like to watch things on me.
I'll send you some of those links to. There's some funny stuff, man.
Okay, good, man. Thanks.
Do you have any regrets, be it career or otherwise, that you wish you could go back and do or not do? Or
I got a bunch of them, man. I mean, a bunch of them. But at the time, I didn't regret none of it at the time. Now that I'm 36 years old and wrestling's, you know, damn near gone for everybody, sure there's a lot of things that I regret that I wish I could have changed, or I wish I'd have kept my mouth shut at this time, or I wish I wasn't partied on this night, or I wish I wouldn't have said this to that person. Of course there is. But my biggest regret that I probably had was the one that probably put the nail in the coffin for us in WWF, where I had the $500 CAD bill and I was all messed up and if I had it to do over again, I would have never done that, you know. And actually, if I would have known the morning of Monday, see what happened was the Sunday night, me and Brian Christopher and Tony Williams were in Louisville, Kentucky for Louisville show, which never really run on Sunday, but once every few months. And Brian and Tony had this girl with them, and she got arrested, and so I was being all loud and drinking, and they were trying to get her out of jail, and they started feeding me these Valiums so I would be quiet. Because at that time, they'd never done no kind of drugs, I guess, and they didn't realize that the Valiums wouldn't kick right in. They just thought if they gave them to me, I would be asleep in 10 minutes, you know. So yeah. They didn't kick in until the next morning. And Brian Lawler put me on the wrong plane. He changed my ticket I was supposed to fly to Nashville for Monday Night Raw, but he changed it and flew me out of Louisville and flew me into a different town in Michigan, which was 200 miles away from the show wherever we were supposed to be. So by the time I got there, I was so messed up, I really didn't even know where I was at, and I just took a cab to the building, and when I got there, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and had this $500 cab bill, and just ridiculous. I mean, I should have never been on the plane. I should have never went to the show. It would have been better to miss that show than it would have been to show up in the state I was in, you know. Yeah. But, I mean, I don't blame Brian, you know. I don't blame nobody for what I do, but, I mean, Brian was the one that put me on the plane, so I kind of blame him, but I don't blame him because, you know, I'm responsible for everything I do in my life, and so I'm not blaming him, but I'm saying thanks a lot, dickhead.
But you got the Ken Shamrock story is priceless, though. I mean,
well, that one is, bitch. I mean, that is the same day.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
That is the exact same day where I got dressed and I laid on the floor, and then all of a sudden it was just, I don't know, I guess my body knew it was 7:45, and I just woke up and I was pure sober. I mean, I was sober. I was there. I was ready to go to work, and then of course I seen Ken Shamrock, and that was his first day in the WWF, and so everybody knows me and knows how crazy I am, a little crazy fucker anyway, and so he don't have a clue, and there's some little skinny fucking guy passed out on the floor all day long, and then he just wakes up, and so when I seen him, I said, "Are you Ken Shamrock?" And he said, "Yeah." So I stand up, and that's where I challenge him and shake my little leg at him, tell him, "Come on, sissy-ass bitch, get a hold of Dundee here." And everybody's popping and laughing at him, and hell, he don't know where, he don't know none of these guys, because it's his first day in WWF. He's just come from the shoot fight shit, so he's just looking at everybody like, who in the fuck is this guy? So I tell him, "Come on, boy." I said, "Horace Gracie done told me you got a weak knee. Step up, bitch. This is WWF where the big boys play. Come on, get some of Dundee." And then, of course, when he stands up, I sit down, and I say, "Oh, ain't you tough? Big old badass gonna beat up Jamie Dundee." And everybody laughs at him and shit. Then he just blows it off, and then the next week when we fly back in, I'm kind of normal then, and if I can ever be normal, I guess, and I say to him, "Hey, how you? I'm Jamie Dundee." He's like, "Yeah, I know you, little motherfucker." And I was like, "Oh, damn, what's wrong with this guy?" And then everybody has to kind of say, "Oh, Dundee, well, last week, you know, you kind of made him look stupid," but me and him talked, and, you know, we hung out a few times, so there's no hard feelings there.
That's classic.
Yeah, it was pretty classic.
I heard another story at one point where you got some heat because you were hounding who's in charge of that? I can't think of who the guy was, but anyway, you were busting their balls about PG-13 not having any action figures and posters and shit because they were over there giving Mark Henry an action figure or whatever, and so you start hounding him about where's the PG-13 action figure?
Yeah, well, that was, but I mean, the WWE, I think they were going to do the little nation figures to go with Farouk, but I believe when I showed up with that big cab bill and all messed up and in my mouth and all that shit, I believe they said, no, we're not going to deal with these guys no more. And then, that's the bad thing about that. Like, Wolfie kind of got branded for shit ideas. Not saying Wolfie's no saint, believe me, he's far from a saint,
Yeah.
98% of the time, if I was doing it, he was doing it too, no matter what it was or where it was. But at that exact time, he wasn't doing nothing wrong. He was in the building at 11 o'clock that morning. He got out of, on his Nashville flight, but he got heat for what I did, which that's where when you're a tag team, sometimes that bites you in the ass,
Yeah.
Because, needless to say, I mean, they got rid of both of us at the same time, but really he didn't do nothing to make them get rid of him, but they just got rid of him because we were a tag team,
Guilt by association.
Guilt by association, right. Like my daddy would say, if you drive the car to the bank and the other guy goes in and robs it, you might as well go in with him, So, same thing. So, I mean, Wolfie kind of got a little heat there, but, I mean, not saying that he's no saint, because, believe me, any other time he would have been with me, and he just didn't happen to be with me because I rode with Brian and Tony the night before. Because if he would have been with us, he'd have been in the same state, I'm sure. So.
Now, did you have any run-ins like that in ECW when you were there?
Well, yeah, because that's ECW. That was their thing: snort one, shoot one, smoke one, or do one. But I don't care, pick one. You're gonna do something before you go to the ring. That was their motto. I mean, hell, if you didn't get high before you went to the ring, I don't think Paulie would let you go. I mean, really, I don't think that. I think that's the ECW. That's like people ask me, what do you remember about ECW? I say nothing. I mean, I remember going one day and the company's closed the next because everything in between is just a big blur.
Cause I remember hearing some story from somebody about something between you and the Sandman, I think it was. Or maybe Taz, I don't know.
Well, the guy, when I did my first shoot tape for that High Spots, he had asked me about that too, and I don't ever remember having a crossword with anybody in ECW. Ever. The whole time we were there. Not even one crossword, because we were all the same, Everybody that was there was the outlaws of wrestling, the derelicts, the things, the ones that people didn't want to mess with, Tommy Rich, me, Wolfie, Tracy Smothers, the Eliminators, the Gangsters, New Jack and Mustafa, and they were Chris Candido. We were the outcasts that the rest of the world thought they didn't want, Because we did party, we were wild, so I guess Paulie said, well, I know what I'll do. I'll put them all together, and that'll have to do something, and he made himself some money.
Well, you get these urban legend stories like that float around of, Jamie got into it with Sandman and said this, or that, all these go around. You never know which are true, because the Shamrock story had went around for years, and then you confirmed it on your interview, but then there's these other ones that, maybe they happened, maybe they didn't,
Yeah, and see, they asked me one about stealing Necro Butcher's car or something one time, and I was like, I don't ever remember working with Necro Butcher, but I saw him a few months after I did my shoot tape, and he's like, Jamie, you did. You took my damn car and disappeared for 2 days with some girls. I'm like, well, I ain't saying that couldn't have happened. I'm just saying I don't remember it. I don't ever remember working with him, So I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I can't confirm it did, because obviously if I was missing with 2 days with 2 strippers, obviously I was up to no good anyway, so I wouldn't have remembered by the time I got back anyhow.
But talking about that kind of thing, what would you say is probably the biggest misconception people have about Jamie Dundee?
Oh, man. Because there's so many of them out there, because I've gone on some of them other web pages where they talk about, like, shit about wrestlers and stuff, and, like, a lot of my stories that people talk about me are, like, it's just like if I tell you something right now and you tell, by the time it gets back to me, there's so much shit added to it. Mm-hmm. And that's what most of my stories, like, I've took credit for a lot of stories. I don't even know if they were mine or if they're true or not. I just said, yeah, that was me. Who cares, I mean, but the biggest misconception, I think, is that, my reputation precedes me. I am a pretty wild guy, and I have party, but I don't. It's not that every single day of my life do I party and run wild and all that shit. So the biggest misconception to me is the whole world thinks that every single day of my life I'm just running wild, partying, hell raising, all that, which is not true. Now the weekends or after I wrestle, I usually like to go drink and party and blow it off, but throughout the rest of the weeks and shit, I'm just like everybody else. Hell, I'm a old broken down asshole wrestler. I'm only 36, but hell, it hurts me to get out of bed and shit sometimes, man. So probably the biggest misconception would be my party reputation. Now, 10 years ago, it was pretty good, rocking and rolling, but we wrestled every night. So after we wrestled, we would go drinking and partying, But now, since the year 2000, hell, I don't leave my house much, man, for real. I'm old, man. I'm an old 36.
That and there's people that believe that some of the stuff you've portrayed on Springer was like really, you know, they attribute that to being really you.
Yeah, like, right. Well, of course, you know, I mean, you know, the white supremacy shows, the pimp shows, I mean, all the shows I did, the convict one and all that, all them shows, some of them were true, like when I did the one where I was pimping my, at the time, supposed to be wife's 14-year-old sister, the pimp show. That was a real show. Somebody called in and said this story, and so the producers are like, well, I'm not going to deal with this guy. If that son of a bitch is that crazy, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get Dundee to come up here and play this. So they call me, and I go up and play it. So some of the stories are true. It's just that it's not me.
Right.
But when I do that role, whatever that role may be, I become that person. I think to myself, this is the way this person would act. If I'm a convict, a white supremacist coming out of prison, this is how he would act, and this is how a pimp would act, and this is how whatever would act, you know. So, and then maybe it's because I'm so damn good that people believe it because I'm just that damn good. I guess that's all I can tell them because, you know, all these smart marks believe all this shit. Well, let them believe it. Obviously, I'm that good. That's all I can tell them.
It tickles me that, you know, in 2008 that people can be that simple-minded, you know, that, well, we know wrestling's fake, but, you know, he was on Jerry Springer and he was a white supremacist pimp that was a convict. Like, would you believe that shit, but you don't believe, you know...
Yeah, but see, that's what I tell everybody. The only two real things left on this whole planet is wrestling and Jerry Springer. Both of them are real, I guarantee it. Everything we do on there is real. I'm really playing a pimp. I'm really pimping on that show, but I'm not a pimp. Right. When I'm wrestling, I'm really wrestling, and I'm really whipping ass, and I'm really getting my head busted, and I'm really getting hurt. But the endings are the same as Jerry Springer. The ending, the outcome, is predetermined.
Well, we got us a caller here. Let's see who we've got on the line. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Jamie Dundee. Who's speaking?
Jamie Dundee.
Hey.
Kiss my ass again.
Oh, AJ Savage has got another kiss my ass. Now, damn it, Gene, that's 2 in a row, man.
Man.
That's 2 in a row. His MySpace page is going to be full of telling Jamie Dundee to kiss his ass on the internet.
He slipped in on us this time.
He did slip in on us, didn't he? That's all right, though, AJ. I got one coming for him that he just can't top nowhere, so that's okay. I'm going to give him that one there. Another 100 points for AJ Savage on the Kiss My Ass contest.
When you coming home, brother?
I'm coming back to the South in March. I'm up here in Chicago for the next 2 weeks, and then I hit the South on March the 4th for that show, and then I don't leave the South till April the 3rd to come back up north here because I got a lot of Nashville bookings and Lewisburg bookings and Illinois bookings and Indiana bookings throughout the month of March. So I'll be back in the South on March the 2nd or the 3rd, and then I won't leave until April 3rd. So I'll get around there to see you sometime in March, AJ Savage.
Well, I'm going to tell everybody right here, we're shooting for our wedding in April, so you're still best man, right?
Well, yeah, I'll be there, baby. I'll be there for you.
All right, brother. Thanks, Gene, for letting me get him again.
Thank you, AJ.
All right, AJ.
Brother.
Take care, man.
I'll tell everybody right here.
All right, we got us another caller here. Let's see who this is. Good morning. You're on the air with Jamie Dundee. Who's speaking?
Chris.
Chris, how you doing? We got a question for Jamie?
Yeah, I got one. I just wanted to know if he has any bookings scheduled for the Virginia or maybe the Hampton Roads area.
So where at, buddy?
In Virginia. The Hampton Roads is like a large region, like in Virginia.
Actually, I think I talked to a guy about a show in April up in the West Virginia area. It may be the same guy you're talking about. He uses my brother-in-law Bobby Eaton and Ricky Morton all the time, and Tracy Smothers, and a lot of guys out of Tennessee area and stuff go to West Virginia there for him. So I'm pretty sure I'm coming. Did you say Hampton, West Virginia? I think that's the town, actually. Hampton, West Virginia, sometime in April, if I'm not mistaken. April 19th, I'm thinking, but I'm not positive. Don't write that in stone. But, yeah, I'm talking to somebody right now off of my MySpace. And so, yeah, I think it's April. April, I'll be in the West Virginia area.
Yeah, well, West Virginia, that's actually west of me. I'm thinking of Virginia. I mean, Hampton is actually a city in Virginia, but there's a whole region called Hampton Roads. Like a nearby city would be like Norfolk or Chesapeake, Virginia Beach.
Well, you know, I don't know. Maybe, brother. I do not know. I just go to MySpace/Jamie Dundee and click it, and I put my bookings up there usually like, you know, at the beginning of each month to say where I'll be during that month. And for those people that are listening, there is another MySpace Jamie Dundee, but it ain't mine. It's just a crazy chick out of Evansville. So the one I got has it's got a couple thousand friends on it, so that's my real page. So if you go there and just click that one, and I'll chat with you or whatever, and I'll put my bookings up there and let you know if I'm in that area, buddy.
Yeah, actually, I know that to be your real page. If you remember, I'm the one that made the picture of you on the rotating coin and the too hot to handle, too cold picture.
That's Eraser. All right, baby.
That's me.
All right, Eraser. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, Jamie Dundee coins are going hot. The whole world wants one. I want one, too. Everybody's emailing me. When you go get them coins made? I said, it's already made. That's the only one you get. Don't spend it all in one place.
That's it. I'm the one that did it.
Well, I appreciate it, Eraser. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, not a problem.
Thanks for calling.
Sure.
All right, Jamie, we got us another caller here. Let's see who we got.
That's it. I'm the one that did it.
All right, you're on the line with Jamie Dundee. What's their name? Thanks for calling.
Hulk Hogan.
Sure. All right, Jamie,
Hey, who?
Hulk Hogan.
It's Hulk Hogan. Well, hello, Hulk Hogan.
On the line.
How the hell are you?
Jamie Dundee.
I'm wonderful. How the hell are you?
How you doing, my friend?
I'm very good, sir. I'm very good. How are you?
Well, somebody's got him a soundboard to play with. That's
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan.
Hey,
All
brother.
right, well, Hulkster, we got another caller on the line, so good luck with your divorce and everything, and we hope your kid don't go to jail or break the bank on you. Take care. Jesus. All right, our next caller on the line. Good morning. You're on there with Jamie Dundee. Who's speaking?
Hey, is this Timothy? Hi,
Hello. Huh?
Hey, this is Tim down in Tampa, babe.
Hey, good, Tim. How you doing? Timothy Kendrick, right?
Yes, sir. Hey, March 22nd now, you're going to be in Logan. At least they got you booked there in West Virginia, so I'm planning on being there.
Okay,
that changes, put it on your MySpace. Let me know.
I'm booked in West Virginia, all right? Well, I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but I mean, don't get me lying. I go get my book, and I'll be able to tell whether I'll be there.
They're advertising your ass, so
okay, well,
I hope
they probably they spoke to me, because not too many people are going to advertise me if they don't speak to me, because they don't know if I'm going to show up when they do speak to me, so I know they're not going to advertise me.
Hey, you got, my question, what you got, anything else? You thinking about doing any more Hollywood stuff?
Well, I mean, that movie deal just came about because they came to Nashville and they just kept putting ads in the newspaper saying we want people with tattoos to show up to make that, the movie, The Last Castle, that prison movie, to make it look more hard. So Tracy Smothers was already in it. So he was the one that called me. He's like, Jamie, come down here and let these people love to see your tats. So when I went down, of course, that's when they said, oh, my God, they like them. They put me in the little scenes and all that. But no, I don't. Hell, I have enough trouble with the wrestling world. I damn sure don't want to get caught up in the Hollywood world. Hell.
Oh, and one thing, too, I was watching a lot of stuff with you. You're on the stick. I mean, you could piss off the Pope when you want to. You are good, brother. I mean,
well, I appreciate that, Timothy. But I got to just, I guess that's what makes Jamie Dundee his mouth. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but I mean, hell.
I'd have it no other way, brother. Hey, man, look forward to, I hope that show's in Logan. If not, I'll just look on MySpace and check it out on your page.
Man, I hope to see you there. If they got me booked, I'm pretty sure I'll probably be there. So.
Yeah, I emailed you and asked you about the guy they had you up against for his good work. I didn't know nothing about him. So
I don't even know nothing about the show right off the top of my head.
And one more thing before I go, brother. Love you to death, but you got to get some pictures of you not getting your ass whipped on your page, brother.
Well, I just do that because at the end of the match, I won it. So might as well give them boys a little bit of glory, And if they're not whipping my ass, what do I need to bring Bill Dundee and Wolfie D in on March the 4th for? You see what I'm saying? So,
yeah, brother, you know what? That just changed my whole perception. Outstanding. I never thought of looking at it that way. You are the fucking man.
Watch how the pictures go, and by the end of the pictures, you'll see the next set will be PG-13 and Bill Dundee kicking the hell out of all of them. So
you're the man, brother. Thanks for taking my call.
Take care, bro.
All right, bye.
All right, well, that's good. We had a few good callers there, and minus Hulk Hogan, but anyway.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I know he'd be up at 10 in the morning and can't wait to hear what I got to say.
That's right, brother.
Yes, brother. But I tell you what, when I did meet him in WCW, he was a really, really good guy. He came out of his way to tell me to tell my father hello from him. And that my dad helped him a lot when he first come through Memphis when he was just starting, and that he never forgot that. And so I told Wolfie, I said, hey, we're over with Hogan, so at least we can stay here a little while longer in WCW. But then, of course, they sold it and it's shut down.
That's cool, though. I mean, that he would do that because, I mean, so many people have so many bad things to say about him.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I told Wolfie. I said, that's pretty cool. Hogan just come out of his way to say hello to me, And I was like, wow. He said, I'll tell your dad I appreciate it and thank you very much for treating me well and all that, because believe me, I've had a lot of people come down the pike and say, hey, tell your dad just my ass, your dad's a dick and all this stuff. So it was pretty good to hear Hulk Hogan say my dad was all right. So.
Of all the guys you've worked with over the years, who's someone that you really thought was going to make it big that just didn't?
Let me see. Boy, that's a hell of a question. Well, I always thought, which they're kind of getting their break now, they were called 3 count in WCW. Shannon Moore, Shane Helms, and Evan Courageous. I always thought them 3 would go somewhere. Sugar Shane Helms became the Hurricane or whatever, got a little run out of it, and then Jamie Noble, all that clique, that they're just now putting on the SmackDown or wherever they are, the Jenny Wayne Yang and all them, that whole clique of group, them guys that hung together. I always thought they would all go somewhere bigger and better than they have. I mean, they all got little contracts and stuff, but I thought they would just use them, or Jamie Noble and all them, which, I mean, they don't care. They're getting paid, and they could care less. But I just always figured they would go somewhere, especially 3 count. Evan Courageous, I don't know whatever happened to him, man. I just always thought he was a hell of a worker and a good-looking young kid. And I'm surprised that we ain't seen him yet, but I ain't heard nothing about that guy in years.
No, last I heard he was doing independence up in Minnesota or something. But
that's the last I heard of him, man. Hey, I got another show I need to plug right here real quick. It's this Saturday night coming up. It's February 16th for the company that I work for now, POWentertainment.com. That's POWW Entertainment.com. And this Saturday night, February 16th, at the Al Hattendorf Center in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, we're having Slam Fest 5. It's our big show. We have 3 or 4 big shows a year. This is Slam Fest 5. We have our world champion Brandon Bishop in a ladder match, and he faces the winner of Terry Allen with Sandra Dee versus Ex-Con with James Stauben. The winner of that match will go on to face Brandon Bishop for the world title. We have our tag team champs Out of Control, Jimmy Blaze and Joey Chichi. They're called Out of Control versus Diego Corleone and Adam Evans for the PAL tag team titles. Then we have a regional title match with Chris Cairo, defends his PAL regional title against Trevor Blanchard, who is also an old veteran from WCW and WWF days. And then me and my great partner Thunderfoot will be taking on Pure Evil, Scott Spade and Dayho in a Falls Count Anywhere match in the business. So that's this Saturday night. If anybody's in the Illinois area, it's Elk Grove Village, which is a suburb right outside of Chicago. Anybody in the area, it's Slamfest 5 and POWentertainment.com. POWW Entertainment.com. You can sign up to our webpage, our message board, all them things like that. And it's this Saturday coming up. And anybody around the area, please come on out and support us. It's always a good show. And you can go to MySpace, POW Entertainment, or POWW MySpace, and get a hold of us on there.
All right. Slamfest 5, it should be a good show.
5, it's going to be a good show.
Now, I've pretty much got through most of the questions. We're going to kind of do the old the name word association, where we'll name some names and let you give your thoughts. And it's a wild mix of of names of guys you've worked with over the years. But I want to start off with a guy who someone pointed out to me the other day that next Monday when we're doing our show with Randy Hales is actually going to be the anniversary of his passing, and that's Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know, yeah. Well, of course, Eddie Gilbert is, part of my family, because like I said, in the old days, wrestling was a mafia. We were a family. So when I was a kid growing up, hung out with other wrestlers' kids. My mom hung out with wrestlers' wives, and my dad hung out with wrestlers, and that was all that we knew. And Eddie Gilbert, that was just so tragic and so terrible, but I still talk to Doug at least 2 or 3 times a week, and they'll always be a part of my family. And of course, me and everyone else, we miss them. We can't bring them back, and we think of them all the time. But we must go on with our life. But Eddie Gilbert was really a good person, man, and he just left Earth way too early, man, way too young.
One of the best. I mean, God, Eddie Gilbert. I mean, promos. I mean, in ring. I mean, he was just one of the best ever.
But he's a second-generation wrestler too. His father, Tommy Gilbert, was also one of the great wrestlers from the '70s. In the Memphis area. So
that's right.
Some 95% of us second-generation wrestlers have to either be better than our fathers or we can't do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? And I know I'm better than my dad, right, Bill? So he'll probably be calling.
Oh, here comes the call.
Him.
The Bill Dundee call of the week.
Yeah, Bill.
If you're listening, Bill, go ahead and call in and rebut that now.
Yeah.
And while we're waiting on him to call, here's the name of a guy that you worked with frequently in KEW, and he's quite popular in Memphis in the Mid-South area, and has been doing the indies there for years. Danny Be Good, or
Danny
if the case may be, Danny Be Bad, depending on.
Yes, yeah, Danny Be Good. We had great matches, me and Danny B. Man, we worked a lot because we were both the same size. And if I'm not mistaken, I think my dad had a hand in training him or helped training him, or he finished off his training with my dad.
I think so.
if I'm not mistaken. So, of course, you know, he'd be good anyway. He was trained by Dundee. So, but, I mean, no, we used to tear it down because we were both, and another one that I see you got him coming on your show, too, Chris Rocker.
Yes.
It was me, Chris Rocker, and Danny Be Good, and a kid, not a kid, he's been around 15, 20 years. Izzy High is what he wrestled as then, the American kickboxer out of Detroit. It was us four doing the little light heavyweight thing, and me and Danny B used to tear it down, but along with them other two, you know. But like I say, this because wrestlers knew how to wrestle back then, you know. Now they just know the moves. They don't know why they do them, or they don't know how to tell a story with it. They just go out there and do as many moves as they can do, and that's it. And that's why wrestling's where it is today.
I tell you what, though, you talk about guys that you'd love to see catch a break and get to go somewhere. Danny and Rocker both.
Well, of course, but
awesome.
See, they're also branded as Tennessee boys. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that hurts you. Depends on who's in charge, who's the booker, who's the promoter, who's in charge, where you come from. All that has something to do. And so they're also little. You know what I'm saying? They're little fellas. They're like me. They're small. You know, they're little guys. But to me, it's like when you watch wrestling today, they all look the same. Every one of them are tan with muscles and with bandanas on with long hair. And I mean, you know, you got to have a circus. You got to have a little bit of everything to make people want to come see your product. But I guess, you know, Vince don't care what I say because he's putting his billions in the bank. So, but I mean, as far as the sport of wrestling, they're just killing it. They're just digging the hole deeper and deeper, man.
Although his top star got over doing a PG-13 gimmick for several years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sure enough. But, I mean, that happens in wrestling everywhere. That's why a lot of guys, you don't want to send your pictures and your idea of your gimmick in because if the man don't like you, he'll just take your gimmick and put it on somebody else, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, that's when they made Brian Christopher and Scotty 2 Hotty 2 Cool, all they did was make them PG-13 and just dress them up a little bit better, you know.
Yep. Because
they had somebody to saw him. And, you know, John Cena, all he is PG-13. He's got a spinner. We had a hubcap. You know, it's no different.
Yep. I've always thought that was, you know, if that was funny that, you know, Cena ended up doing that gimmick to become the top star.
Yeah, and you know, and just so, but like I said, you know, I don't blame him. I wouldn't have dealt with me at that time and the way I was in life at that time and my mouth and all that. So just if they like the gimmick, take it and put it on somebody else, you know.
Here's a guy, I'm sure you've worked with him some. I know your dad's worked with him a ton, and he's just about any masked gimmick from Memphis you can name, he was under it. Don Bass. Donnie
Bass, yes. So I worked with Donnie Bass a few times in my career when I was first starting when I was just a little young manager guy, and then we did little angles or something, and I worked with Donnie Bass, and I used to love to work the outlaw Don Bass. I just loved working with him. He told me to call my own comeback one time in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I shot him in and called backdrop, and I guess I weighed about 140 pounds. And he took a backdrop, and you talk about pop. My dad and Buddy Wayne pop. They said, Jamie, Donnie Bass ain't took a backdrop since '76, man. I said, well, he took one tonight, but I'm sure it wasn't too good a one. But so that's a little pop. Me and my dad he'll still mention that to me every now and then. He'll say, you remember when you backdropped Donnie Bass? I said, I sure do, pop. So.
Funny guy in the dressing room. I always love working the show.
Yeah, super funny guy. And the old cigar. And I never seen him without that cigar.
That's right. Now, we got another caller here, so let's see who we've got on the line. You're on live with Jamie Dundee. Who's speaking, please?
Hey, this is KG from Rubber Guard Radio. How you doing,
fellas?
Hey,
KG. How you doing, man?
Fine and fucking dandy. What's going on, fellas?
Just enjoying another beautiful day in Chicago. I am. We got about 14 inches of snow out here, and it's minus 9 degrees. Beautiful day. I mean, can't get no better. That's the Iceman, you know, that likes to hang out in that kind of weather.
There you go. Now, I understand, Iceman, that you hold the XCW Midwest title?
Yes, I do. I am the XCW Midwest World Champion. I won it in a tournament about 3 months ago with a lot of guys out of Ring of Honor, Claudio Casanova, and just Bull Payne was in the tournament, Chris Michaels, myself, Mitch Ryder, Todd Morton. It was like a 3-month tournament deal, elimination, I'll keep on going through. Then the last match I wrestled Bull Payne and become the victor and won the world title. So I've held it for 4 months, and then, like I say, they keep jumping and interfering, so that's why we're putting PG-13 and Superstar Bill Dundee together one night only on March the 4th to get a little bit of payback.
That's going to be money.
I hope so. Money for everybody, I hope.
So tell me, how is it working for Mitch Ryder as a boss? How is he as a boss?
Well, I got to give Mitch his props. Mitch is like the rest of us. He's had his good times and his bad times throughout his wrestling career, and his, you know, the drugs and the women and all that. But I got to give Mitch his credit. Mitch has been doing really well. He's a good boss. He runs it just like a boss should run it. It's run, you know, even though me and him as friends out of wrestling, in wrestling for 15 years, when we're at the show, I work for him. He is my boss, and, you know, we have a great working relationship, and he runs it right, and he does it well. And I just got to give him his props, man. The guy's been clean for a good year and a half now or so, and he's taking care of his business, and he's doing really well, and I'm proud of him. And I'm enjoying it, and I love it. I wish he would run every week instead of once a month because, I mean, we got it rocking and rolling. The people are really enjoying it, and what we got's a great product, so hopefully we can get it going.
Gene, I'm going to have to put you over. Your show's doing really well.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it, and I've still been checking your show out as well, and good job with the RVD interview, man.
Well, I'm going to throw out a cheap plug, myspace.com/rubberguardradio. Check us out, guys. We'll be on the air Tuesday and Thursday this week. This is your show, so I'm not gonna keep plugging my shit. But Iceman, it's good to hear that you're alive and kicking and literally kicking ass. But Gene, continue with the good work, brother.
Thanks, man. Take care, KG. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks, KG. Take care.
All right, guys.
That's Kid Zombie, host of Rubber Guard Radio, another wrestling talk show here on Blog Talk Radio. Be sure and check it out.
That's nice to hear that you guys get along, even though you're both in the same kind of business there. You know, radio shows on the internet. That's pretty good. Y'all get along because, you know, unlike wrestling promoters, you wouldn't have another promoter calling in letting another promoter plug his show on his show. So I'm glad to hear you guys get along like that. That's good. See, wrestling promoters, y'all need to take a little advice there from Gene and KG.
That's right, man. There's enough to spread it around. You've got time to listen to everybody.
Sure do.
Now, here's a name. You worked with him early in his career, and then you crossed paths again at the height of his popularity. Steve Austin.
Stone Cold. Managerial protege. That's what he used to call me. He'd say, managerial protege. I'd say, yes, Stunning, because back then he was Stunning Steve Austin. And, I managed him in, 90, 91. I managed him for about a year and a half. That's where we did a thing where we turned me into JC Ice, actually. And I turned on my dad, and I was bringing in different guys to whoop my dad, you know. So I was Dirty White Boy and Jeff Gaylord and just other names. And then Steve, they brought Steve in from Texas and put me managing Stunning Steve. And then, of course, he went on to become the great Stone Cold. And then we did cross paths in 97 again. And in WWF when me and Wolfie went up there as the rappers. And he's always never been nothing but a good guy to me, and no matter where we're at, if he ever sees me, he'll come out of his way. Like I saw him in the airport about 2 years ago, and he came by and said, hello, managerial protege. And I said, well, hello, Stunning Steve. And, you know, so he's always been a respectable guy to me, even though he became one of the biggest stars in our business. I guess he never forgot where he came from, you know.
The guys have told me that have known him like you have, you know, back in the early days and all that the Stone Cold isn't much of a character, isn't much of a stretch, that he's always been the, you know, redneck Texan that, you know, that's just been waiting to come out on the air, but that's
right.
Always him.
Well, see, that goes back to why, like I said, believing, you know, you can't put Shane Helms in that hurricane gimmick because he doesn't believe he's a superhero. But you could put me in a superhero gimmick because I could believe I'm a superhero. You know what I'm saying? And The reason Stone Cold got over so big is because that is what Stone Cold was. That is him. And like you said, he finally got to let it out, and when he did let it out, it got over because people knew he wasn't working. You know, Ric Flair didn't believe that he believed he was Ric Flair everywhere he went, limos and 7 women and, you know, the champagne and all the caviar, the whole 9 yards, because he is Ric Flair. You can't be something that you don't feel it yourself. You can't be it because the people will never feel it because you don't feel it. You don't believe it.
Makes sense. I mean, you know. Speaking of people who believe their character or live their character, and I've talked to this guy about coming on the show, and we hadn't been able to quite nail it down because we don't really know what he wants to talk about exactly, but a guy from ECW, New Jack.
New Jack. Well, New Jack is straight up, you get what you get with New Jack. There's no gimmick there. New Jack is a gangster, a straight up thug. Probably got a couple notches under his belt on the Mizar, the Riz apps and all that shit, but, you know, who knows? But New Jack, but like I said, because that is who New Jack is. You could not make New Jack an Al Sharpton type of character. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because that's not what he feels. New Jack is a straight-up street thug gangster. He's done his prison time. He's paid his debt to society, and he is hardcore, and, you know, hell, I mean, you ain't got to say much more. You can see the videos where he stabs the guy 40 times with the knife and throws Vic Grimes, whatever the guy's name is, off the tables trying to make him hit the floor and all. He knows New Jack is New Jack, and you know, there's no gimmick there. You get what you get, and either you like New Jack or you don't like New Jack. I mean, New Jack's always been tight. Never had a crossword with him except when he first started. They put him and a white kid named Mark Freer, called him New Jack and Homeboy in Memphis, and got rid of me and Wolfie for about 6 weeks. And they put him in shorts and stuff is when me and Wolfie first started there, and they got rid of us and brought them in and called him New Jack and Homeboy and put him in shorts. And, of course, I didn't know he was a killer gangster thug, so I told people, tell that motherfucker, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. And then, then I met him in ECW, and he's like, Miss Dundee, I was going to kill you. I'm like, well, I'm glad you did, man. He's like, yeah, well, don't be talking. So, but from then on, we've always been good buddies.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when they brought them in, and I was talking to New Jack about being on the show, and he's like, well, what you want to talk about? And I said, well, just talk about your career, talk about whatever. We'll talk about when you was in Memphis and Smoky Mountain. He's like, yeah, fuck that old shit. I don't want to talk about that old shit no more. I don't give a damn about that old shit. I was like, all right, well, I'll get back to you. We'll see.
He's got a new company or something he just started in Cincinnati. I've been seeing him plugging it on the computer a lot. Him and Madman Pondo worked together. I think it was Saturday night. 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
In a new company that New Jack has started in Cincinnati. So good luck to him, man. I hope he, hell, he's like the rest of them, in ECW. They all got screwed out of so much money by Paulie, that.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how, you can work 5 pay-per-views and he ain't been paid for the first one. You know what I'm saying? If you don't pay me for the first one, I damn sure ain't going to do 4 more for you.
Yeah, that's all crazy. It is. And I don't know. But, a name you just mentioned right then, and I know you. I don't know if you actually wrestled him. I know y'all worked together in KEW some. The Madman Pondo.
Yeah, Madman Pondo. I wrestled him. Actually, I wrestled Pondo on like one of his very first matches he ever had when he was going to try to be a wrestler. Because he called me the other day and he's like, Jamie, I'm watching the shoot tape here, and you called me the knocking me saying I'm the worst wrestler in history. And I'm like, well, you are when it comes to wrestling, but when it comes to that hardcore shit, there's nobody better. Madman Pondo. There's nothing you won't get that guy to do as far as thumbtacks, light bulbs, flaming tables, and all that shit. But as far as wrestling, arm bars and headlocks and drop kicks, Madman Pondo, you ain't going to get that with him. But I got some footage of me and him wrestling in Illinois back in early 90s, 90, 91 or something for an outlaw show where me and him tried to wrestle. And, boy, he just couldn't get it then, and I don't think he ever got it. But he's really, really over in Japan and everywhere else with the shit he does now. So I'm actually going to work with him on March the 16th or March the 18th in Carmi, Illinois. Madman Pondo's running the show. Me and Mitch Ryder will be there. I'm not actually wrestling him because I don't do that hardcore shit, but he'll be wrestling. If I'm not mistaken, I think Necro Butcher. I think is who he'll be wrestling. I'm not positive, but that's on March the 18th, Tuesday night in Carmi, Illinois. So you'll see Pondo and Jamie Dundee, Mitch Ryder, and a few other stars.
Have you talked to Pondo about doing any work for JCW, the Insane Clown Posse promotion up there?
Well, Corporal Robinson is supposed to be the one that handles all that.
Okay.
They called me about 2 months ago. They were in Evansville, Indiana, and they wanted me to give them Bill's phone number so Bill could come in, but I know damn good well Bill ain't going to no show where they let the fans throw shit at you, and I ain't going either. You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm not going to be in the middle of a match and some fucking idiot throwing him in the head with a toaster or something. I'm not, I'm out here to entertain and work. If that's the case, then you might as well just let all the fans get in the ring and everybody just throw shit at each other and fight. I'm not into all that kind of shit.
Man, Tracy got just fucking pelted at that damn...
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, I've never seen so much shit. He was hurling garbage cans out in the crowd. I mean, it was funny to see, but...
Yeah, but Tracy said, he said, damn, Dundee, I was fighting for my life. And I'm like, yeah, but see, if you let one fan throw something, and with Tracy, when he threw it back, that's the worst thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
When he threw it back at the fan, that just meant Katie barred the door and every son bitch in the building threw something at him, So, but I mean, like I say, I'm not going to even be a part of nothing like that because something bad's going to come out of that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, if you're in the middle of hitting the ropes doing a spot and somebody hits you in the head with some fucking bottle or toaster or whatever the hell they're throwing, that's some dangerous shit, man. And this, what we do is hard enough. I damn sure ain't going to have to worry about 300 drunk idiots throwing shit at me, So I just, I seen Too Tough Tony and Rolling Hard and all them guys that work for XCW, they all work. They work for the JCW, but I mean, good luck to them. They can all have that, man. There ain't enough money for me to go, and I knew damn good and well they weren't getting Bill Dundee. So
right, I can see him in the middle of that.
Yeah, you can see Bill Dundee going to hit the ropes, and somebody hit him in the head with a toaster, right?
He dives out in the crowd.
Yeah, it'd be on. Yeah, no doubt, it'd be on. So,
all right, we got another caller. Let's see who we got here. Good morning. You're on the air with Jamie Dundee. Hello.
Yeah,
I'm madly in love with you.
Yeah, no doubt. It'd be on.
I want you to come up north
All right,
next
we got
week.
another caller. Let's see who we got here. Good
Hey,
morning.
can
You
you
turn
turn
your
your
computer down?
I'm going to get you an engagement ring, and hopefully you'll think about it.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Guess they're gone.
All right, well,
Guess he couldn't turn his computer down.
I guess not. All right, then moving on. It's funny you mentioned that about Pondo wrestling because, you know, here recently on ESPN Classic, they've been showing those old Herb Abrams UWF shows.
Yeah, I've been watching that.
Did you see the match with Pondo?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, it was awful. What was so funny is you got Captain Lou and Bruno, who are like the old school school announcers, and even they are like ripping on how horrible the match is and how bad those guys are. It was oh, it was funny.
Yeah, but I told Pondo after that match we had that time, and I'm like, Pondo, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but man, you're terrible. I mean, you just ain't got it, brother. Can you dance at all? I mean, you have any rhythm about you at all, man? But I mean, everything. But so then I guess he said, well, fuck you, Dundee, I'll show you. And he went to all that shit. And now, hell, he's even got his own beer in Japan. It's called MMP. It's got his label, picture on the label and everything. So he proved to me that I didn't know what I was talking about. But, I mean, I proved to him that I did know what I was talking about because he can't wrestle. But he's the king of the hardcore death shit is no doubt Pondo. There'll never be one that can. I believe he even out-topped old Mick Foley there. I believe Pondo took it one level higher.
Hey, if you can find a way to get over, ain't no, whatever you can do.
Well, but I mean, that's why we need a Pondo, you know.
That's right.
We don't need a whole show of Pondos. We just need Pondo on one show. You understand? That's what makes everything, why it makes you draw. It's a circus. You get a little bit of everything.
There you go. Next name on the list, the Armstrongs.
Yes. I've worked with all of them when I first started my career in Knoxville, Tennessee. Ron Fuller started a company called USA. Matter of fact, somebody just sent me 26 weeks of it on DVD. And I'm actually watching all of it right as we speak now, just going, looking at all the old stuff. But my dad became the booker, and that's when I became a heel manager and went up there, and Steve Armstrong was there, and Bob Armstrong was there, and Jesse had just come back from the war, so he just came in and, like, did interviews. He wasn't really a wrestler then. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Brad Armstrong, I've known him. So I've known him all my whole entire life, really. But, yeah, I worked with him then in WCW. Of course, I worked with Brad and Scott and Steve, and so they brought them all in there, Brad, Scott, and Steve, in there to work with me and Wolfie and Frog and 3 Count and the Young Dragons. We all did this, and the Marmalukes did this tournament thing. So, yeah, but I've known them all my whole life, and just like the rest of us, just nothing but wrestling in their blood and their life. That's all I know.
Now, here's a name that gets, I don't know, he's had a lot of heat over the years in Memphis with some people and not with others, but the Spellbinder.
Spellbinder, Harry Del Rios. Always been, I've known him since he came to USWA when he came on a WWF developmental contract. It used to be a kid named Mike Anthony who passed away from Canada. Tiger Mike Anthony, Spellbinder, me and Wolfie and 2 midgets. We run the roads for over 3 years together in a damn 89 Camaro, man. You should have seen that. Packing that big bastard in the front seat, Mike driving, me and Wolfie in the back seat with 2 midgets in between our legs, driving from show to show, man. And $40 a night. You know, that's what they paid all them young boys back then. So I think if it wasn't for Spellbinder, half of us would have starved because he had that WWF money. They were paying him, so he would feed us all. But I mean, yeah, Spellbinder, a great guy, an average wrestler. You know, he's better than some, but not as good as others, but never did get a break, and I don't know why, because they put him under developmental contract, and his body and his size and his working out ability and all that. But I think maybe Lawler kept him because he was Lawler's big giant. Lawler loved, to have big giants in his company, so I don't know, maybe Lawler just wouldn't ever let him go until Vince, no, he ain't ready yet, and then before you know it, it's 10 years later, and now he's not there, Right. So I don't know why he didn't get his, because he had the body, he had the look, and he was a good enough wrestler. Hell, even compared to today, he's better than half of the garbage they got on there now. So I don't know why.
I would say he was better than a lot of the guys they throw on TV out of developmental now.
Yeah.
Every time I think of him, I think of the story of the rib of Brian Christopher. Brian Christopher telling him to show up at the TNA pay-per-view dressed like Scott Steiner.
I don't even know about that rib. Yeah.
Yeah, he showed up for the first TNA pay-per-view dressed like Scott Steiner.
Yeah, and he had the dyed blonde.
Exactly.
Yes, I do remember that now. But he called himself something different, didn't he?
Yeah, I forgot what name he used. I mean, he had a name Streak or something.
Yeah, Streak.
Shit.
No, Streak. That was it. Streak.
Yeah.
He had the blonde streak down. Yeah, and then had that he did look like. I remember that now. Now you said.
And I thought that was odd when he showed up that way. And then come to find out, a couple years later, I heard from some guys, oh yeah, that was a rib Brian pulled. That he called him up and told him, oh yeah, they want you there, but they want you there as Scott Steiner. They want you looking like Scott Steiner.
Right. Yeah. Well, see, him and Brian are real tight. Because where they were, I don't know if they are anymore. But, because they used to always rib old Spellbinder on things like that. So, because, he didn't come from the wrestling world. He come from the bodybuilding world, and he was a big bodyguard for some pretty high up people in New York, and he got shot, and that's why they called him the Miracle Man, because he had actually went through his heart and killed him, and they broke his rib, massaged his heart, kept him alive. But, when you can't bodybuild with a scar, because it deducts points, so then I guess that's when he wanted to become a wrestler, and then that's when the developmental group sent him to Memphis, and they paid him, and he just stayed in Memphis, and actually he's still around the Memphis area now, running a gym down the road from where my dad lives. My dad sees him every day.
Yeah, he turns up on TV every few months. So.
Yeah.
A couple of managers from the USWA days. Scott Bowden.
Scott Bowden. He was a friend of Jerry Lawler's other son, Kevin Lawler. They went to school together, and that's where he came from. And that guy had a lot of heat. He got a lot of heat throughout that time, man. I mean, he did a good job for. I guess he grew up with Kevin watching wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't never know where he came from. Now he just all of a sudden showed up, and that kid got a lot of heat, man. And he could talk. That kid had a hell of a mouth on him.
Oh yeah,
he could really talk, man. I was pretty impressed with that guy for somebody that. But he must have obviously grew up watching wrestling in Memphis, and that's what made him want to do it, because he was really good.
Another guy from around that time, Brandon Baxter.
Yeah, Brandon Baxter. He's now in Jonesboro, Arkansas, DJ now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but Brandon, he came in from Texas, if I'm not mistaken. They got him out of Texas, I think.
Yeah.
And he moved up to Memphis, and he was another good. But see, I never really worked with Brandon, because Brandon was a lot mostly on Power Pro,
Right.
And that was I never went to none of them, That was after we had already USWA had shut down, and so. Yeah, but I mean, Brandon, he was. I'm glad he's got him a good little show. Good luck to the kid, man. I wish him nothing but the best, man. At least he's smart enough to get out of wrestling and moved on to something better. But because of wrestling, it led to the job he's got. So I hope he just remembers that, But
right. A name that come up earlier when we were talking about. Well, actually, I think that was off the air. But Buddy Landale.
Nature Boy, Buddy Landale. I just remember him growing up when I was a kid, because him and my dad were partners for years. They had some good angles in Memphis, the Bill and Buddy show angle, and they smacked Lance Russell and all that shit. And I just remember Buddy growing up. Buddy was Buddy, the Nature Boy. He believed he was the Nature Boy. Lots of cocaine and lots of women, and that's just what I remember about Buddy Landale. But I haven't seen him in years. I haven't even heard of him. I don't even know if he wrestles anymore, to tell you the truth. I mean, I don't know. Last time I heard he was about 300-something pounds. And
really? Wow.
That I heard he was really, really big. And that's the last I heard of him. He lives somewhere in Virginia or something. That's the last I heard.
Wow. Now, a guy that was in USWA 95-ish, something like that, during the height of the USWA Smoky Mountain feud, which we talked about last time briefly. Right. That was a great angle for Memphis. But yeah, this guy's, I don't know, there's a lot of stories floating around about him, a lot of speculation about him. Billy Jack Haynes.
Yeah, Billy Jack Haynes. Billy Jack was a no-nonsense kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? He trained hard. He believed in his wrestling. He believed that, Billy Jack, he's a tough son of a bitch, though, rumors they say, and he was the one that broke Brian Christopher's collarbone. And then of course they turned that into an angle. But I mean, he was a rough, tough dude, man. And I had never really, I'd heard of him when I was a kid. But like I said, that was before cable TV, so all I really knew was the Memphis wrestlers. But I had heard of him a little bit here and there. But as far as a person, me and him always got along, and we hung for a few months on the roads in Memphis there, because you had to do that in Memphis. You had to take 4 or 6 and put them in a car if you could, because they kept all the money, so you had to put 4 or 6 in a car to survive,
Right. I don't think this would have been before your time in Memphis, I believe, but I know you probably was around him some, because I know Bill was working in Memphis at the time. But how would you say Shawn Michaels compared to, say, when he had his Memphis run in the late 80s compared to when you saw him in the 90s with the WWF?
Well, like Shawn, my dad really gave him his first break. What was the guy that trained him? Jose Lothario? Yeah. Jose Lothario called my dad in Louisiana or something and brought him in there and gave him his first little job when my dad was booking for Bill Watts. So, I met Shawn throughout the years, on and off and stuff. But actually, he was the one that stood up for me and Wolfie when they got rid of us in the WWF and took them plane tickets back. Shawn was actually the one that said, look, we're WWF. We don't treat nobody this way. I don't care what you think they've done or whatever. You just took 4 tickets from these guys, and they want their money, and I don't blame them. They don't want to do the job because you just took their money, and so he was actually the one that told me. He came out to the car when me and Wolfie had rolled our bags in the car and said, Jamie, I myself will make sure you two boys get paid if you come back in here and do this job. And I said, well, Shawn, because it's you, we're going to come in here and do this job. But anybody else, I believe we would have just left anyway. But because it was Shawn, and I knew if he told me that, then most likely, I knew it would be true. I knew he wouldn't just bullshit us. So that's why we went and did the job, and every Monday for 4 weeks, just like we were on the show, we got paid. So Shawn, if it wasn't for him, I don't think they would have paid us anyway. So appreciate that, Shawn, if you ever hear this show.
That's cool. Another name from Memphis, Billy Joe Travis.
Billy Joe Travis, God rest his soul. Billy was Billy, man. Billy was what you get, see is what you get. Billy lived a fast life. He was trained by a guy named Dale Mann, who I also started wrestling for in the late 80s when I first started wrestling. And he come from a little Kentucky town, Somerset, Kentucky, down there, and just wanted to be a wrestler. And Gary Mize was his real name. And then he just, USWA, him and Jeff had a real good run and stuff. But Billy was just Billy. Billy was one of the most likable persons you'll ever meet. But Billy was something else now. Billy didn't care. Whatever it took for him to get his cocaine, he didn't care. Rob, steal, cheat, lie, whatever. So, but Billy you couldn't help but like Billy. Billy was one of the nicest guys you ever met in your life, man. He'll always make you laugh and smile.
It's sad that he was another one lost, at such a young age. But
yeah, well, that's what happens with the wrestlers. That's what I say with the drugs and the women and all that. That's what when the wrestlers all disappeared. It's like if you're a plumber or a doctor or a lawyer or anything, and you're in this town, you can move to any town you want and look in the newspaper and get another job. When you're a wrestler and the company's closed, there's nowhere to go, nothing for you to do. And I guess that's what sends most of them into the deep depression because they have nowhere to go and they know nothing else. And that's when they go into the deep depression with the drugs, and either you kick out of it or the drugs kill you. Those are the only 2 things that happen for old-timey wrestlers, I guess you say, hell.
About these 2 guys, I don't think they were working as the Nightmares at this point, but I know they wore the mask, and I think they were American Eagles and a couple of different gimmicks. Danny Davis and Ken Wayne.
Right, and Danny Davis and Ken Wayne. Actually, the American Eagles were first Danny Davis and Bill Dundee.
Oh, okay.
And then I think Bill went to WCW. If I'm not mistaken, I may have this backwards, but then Bill went to WCW as Sir William and stuff, and then Kenny came in and they became the American Eagles. Or it was the other way. It was Kenny and Danny, and then Bill came back from WCW and got with Danny. I don't really remember. But, those 2 guys are really 2 of the guys that Kenny Wayne and Danny Davis were 2 of the guys that taught PG-13 how to work and how to get over with the people. That's what I say is wrong with our business today. They don't have nobody to teach them. They're, like I said last time, the blind leading the blind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How can Joe Blow teach Fred Jenkins anything because neither one of them know nothing. That's why they just go to the ring and do a bunch of moves and they don't understand. So that was a good thing about it. In our days, they put you with 2 great wrestlers who could teach you so then you can teach the next crew that comes through. You see what I'm saying? So that way it just keeps going. But, with Kenny Wayne and Danny Davis, hell, I loved wrestling with them guys. They taught me so much, and just little things that that you probably wouldn't pick up on your own without somebody telling you one time, And so, right. Like I always said, Kenny Wayne and Danny Davis are 2 of the finest wrestlers I've ever been with.
I think they're very underrated. That they don't get a lot of credit that they deserve for.
Right, but they were going to Mexico and Japan and doing all that flying shit long before anybody ever heard of Rey Mysterio.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I saw Kenny Wayne do that 619 move 15 years ago. Rey Mysterio just called it 619 and made it his, but that's been going, I've seen Kenny Wayne and Danny Davis do them kind of moves since I was a kid. Yep. And I think maybe that's why they got over so big, because they were smaller guys, but they did that flying stuff, especially, and that was back when nobody had ever heard of it or seen it, Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I told Ken during his interview. I was like, I'll see these old tapes. I watched a lot of it back then. I was like, you were doing this stuff years ago. And he goes, well, I ain't going to take credit. I ain't going to say I invented it. He said, because I went to Mexico and I got it. He goes, but we were doing it here long before they were.
They sure were. And they were over. The Nightmares, they were over like hell. And they were impressive to watch them. But, that's because back then wrestling was wrestling, and you're talking dropkick was a finish, and you got some guy that does a flying move, then damn, how impressive is that, But now we got to actually kill somebody for it to get over anymore in the ring, for real. Well, because how can we top whatever we did last week,
Right. I know we've talked about him in the context of the tag angle and everything, but just maybe a story or two outside the ring or whatever with Tommy Wildfire Rich.
Tommy Rich, just talked to him on the phone yesterday. He was going through Louisville, and I hooked him up with a hotel deal. I get there. Him and Doug Gilbert had to go wrestle somewhere up in Illinois. I just talked to him. Well, Uncle Tommy, like I say, I've known him since I was a little bitty boy. Him and my dad were tag team partners, and him and my dad got me drunk when I was 4 years old and pierced my ear with 2 ice cubes and a needle, and thought that was the funniest shit. So that's why I didn't grow up and be the mayor, because my dad and Tommy Rich got me drunk. And when they hear this, I'm going to sue them both. I'm suing both of them for $10,000 because they made me an alcoholic wrestler. So that's what I say about Tommy and Bill Dundee. Y'all wait. My lawyer will be contacting y'all, and we can settle out of court right now for a couple $100 each.
Is there anything that can be added? I know we've talked about him throughout the interview, and somebody I would really love to interview, and that's Doug Gilbert.
Doug Gilbert. I talked to Doug the other day about that, because remember you asked me about that? And Doug, Doug really doesn't want to talk about wrestling, because he knows when he does these kind of shows that they want to talk about Eddie a lot and things like that, which you got to, because he's Eddie's little brother, and I'm, even though it's been, 8 years, 10, 12 years since Eddie passed away, how many years has it been? Shit, what was it, 90?
I want to say they said 13 years is what it was going to be.
I was going to say, 95, 96, I guess he passed away, 95, that'd be about right, yeah, March or February 95 to be exact. And so I think even though it's been 13 years, that's still something that's really, that's your brother, and I just don't know if he can talk about it yet today, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because, it's never been mentioned. It's like, we talk at least 2 or 3 times a week. He calls just to check on old Jamie, see how I'm doing, and I just don't think, I told him about it, though, and I see, the guy would like to do the show, and he's like, Jamie, I don't got nothing to say. I don't, he only wrestles every now and then, and he stays away from it really as much as he can.
Right.
He's got, he's got a job in the town he lives in, and he's married, and he's happy, and, I just don't know if he'll ever do one, man. But
I understand that, and that's, I respect that. But there's a lot of people who love to hear, even staying away from the stories about Eddie.
Right. Sure, because Doug's got a lot of things. Hell, his dad was a big star, then his brother was a big star, then he became a star. So he's got a lot to put in, but I just don't know if he'll ever, because Doug just sometimes. I've known Doug to drive to a wrestling town and get to the building and literally just say, I'm not doing this. I don't feel like it. And turn around and drive home. I mean, really. Like, Doug, you were at the building? Yeah, I just didn't feel like going in and doing it. I guess sometimes, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's memories of his brother. I don't know what it is, to tell you the truth. But I just, Doug, I'll always love Doug. Me and him was really tight, and we talk all the time.
Well, at least he's in a position where he doesn't have to do it. If he wants to do it, he can.
Right.
And he's got a good job. And
he went to Japan and made a bunch of money right after Eddie had died and saved it, and bought himself a house, bought him some land and built his house on it and all that. And so he's doing real well, and just he don't have to do it if he don't want to, and that's a good place to be. If I could do it like that, I'd have it like that too.
Well, one more name, and then we'll stop and plug some things before we run out of time. Brian Christopher
Lawler. He didn't really know him growing up, because they lived in Memphis, we lived in Nashville. I remember meeting Brian and Kevin when we were little kids, when Lawler had moved to Nashville for a couple of years. When I was 8, 9 years old, didn't really meet Brian until about 87, 88, as far as meet him when I went to Memphis and I was managing, and Brian was actually working, him and his brother Kevin were working outlaw shows around Memphis, trying to be a wrestler because Lawler didn't want him to wrestle. And then, then of course he started training, and Lawler brought him in as Brian Christopher. And he was just, really shocking to me to hear the story of him getting arrested with the cocaine and all that in the WWE, because of all the people back in them days, Brian didn't party or nothing. You know what I'm saying? He's just one. If Brian would drink a beer or two, it was really amazing, you know. He was really into the training and all that. But like I said, I guess, you know, once you make it to the big time, and if everybody else is doing cocaine, so are you, you know. It's like whoever you hang out with, whatever they do is what you're going to do. You're judged by the company you keep. So, and then he got running with all them people. I love Brian to death. A lot of people don't like Brian. Brian's real cocky. Brian's got a hell of a mouth on him. But me and Brian known him, you know, like I say, since 87, 88. And he got a lot of heat for things his dad done to people, too, such as I have, which, I mean, you know, that's everybody. All second-generation wrestlers' dads have done something to somebody, which when, you know, what comes around goes around, and they become the promoter, and then they get, you know, they get hot at you and shit. But Brian, you know, I just wish Brian the best right now. I don't know how he's doing. I hope he's doing really well. I mean, I haven't talked to him in a few months, and I just wish him the best. I hope he gets cleaned up, straight, sobered out, and gets his job back, man. That's because, you know, he's got a wife and a child and a home, and I'd hate to see him lose it, man, you know.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, he spent, you know, such a large part of the prime of his career, you know, out of it more, you know, out of the business more or less.
Right, yeah, because, you know, he worked so hard and trained and got him a body and worked out so hard and tried to get it. And once he got it, but he got it, he fucked it up like hell, like 80% of us do, you know. You don't know you got it until it's over, and then you realize, damn, I had it, but now it's gone.
Right. So, let's talk about some things you got going on. We've mentioned a few throughout the show, but I want to recap and plug what all you got going on.
All right. Well, then this weekend coming up Saturday, we got, of course, Slam Fest. So that's POWentertainment.com, POWentertainment.com, and for those in the Chicagoland area, Elk Grove Village, have a big night scheduled there. And then March the 4th is our other big one for XCW Midwest, where, of course, PG-13, one time only. Reuniting them with Superstar Bill Dundee as their partner, so hell, I just don't see no way this one can go wrong. Got my dad and my best partner with me, so and that's against Todd Morton, Chris Michaels, and Bull Payne. And then I'll just hit a few other towns I'm coming to. I'm going to Fox Lake, Illinois, Dubuque, Iowa, Woodstock, Illinois, New Munster, Wisconsin. All this is coming up in the next few months. So anybody around the Chicagoland area or right here, you know, on the Wisconsin border, we're POWentertainment.com. We're all around this area. Every single weekend we run. And then every other Friday night, you can catch me in Chicago for a company called War. It used to be AWA Slam. That's on Nanganza Boulevard. That's every other Friday. And just, I mean, like I say, go to MySpace/Jamie Dundee and make sure it's the real one, because I've had a lot of girls call me because somebody's put my phone number on the other page, which I don't care. You know, hell, my phone number ain't nothing special to have. And they've been talking to this other person, so that ain't me, so there is a phony Jamie Dundee page, but my page has got like 1,400 friends. It's real, so you can click it, I'll add you, and my schedule will be up there. And like I say, I'm just working up north. I go back to the south in March. I'll be in Nashville, Tennessee every Friday night in March at the Stadium Inn for USWO, Tony Falk and that company. And then Thursday nights I'll be in Lewisburg, Tennessee with Mikey Dunn and his company with the great Gypsy Joe. That's every Thursday in March, every Friday in Nashville. And then on Tuesday, March 4th, like I say, big show XCW. Then March the 18th, like I say, for Madman Pondo in Carmi, Illinois. Jamie Dundee will be in Carmi, Illinois. So, I mean, I'm just getting everywhere. Anybody want to book Jamie Dundee, you can either MySpace me or, hell, just, I'm easy to get a hold of. Hell, just ask anybody.
There you go. If you're a serious promoter and you want to get Jamie on your show, MySpace.com/Jamie Dundee, and I can attest that's the best way to get in touch with him.
There you go.
That's how we hooked him up on here.
That is how we did it.
And Jamie, I appreciate you coming back on, man. Again, another good interview, a lot of fun.
Thank you, G. I appreciate it, man. No problem. And I'd like to get back on here about May and help plug our next big show in May. What's the name of that show, Mr. Bigelow? The King of the Royals. That's right, in May for PAL. So I'd like to get back on there somewhere right around May, man, you know.
Hey, man, we'd love to have you.
No problem. We can get on there and chat, talk about what's going on in the wrestling world there. Because, hell, I hope we're all still alive by then. You never know in this crazy wrestling world.
Well, hopefully so. But, man, good luck with all the stuff you got going on. We appreciate you coming on again. And we will talk to you sometime in May to plug the King of the Royals.
I appreciate it, Gene. And if everybody listening, I appreciate y'all all taking time out to listen to the Iceman. And like I say, MySpace/Jamie Dundee and POWentertainment.com. Sign up on the message board. We have all our shows, our updates, pictures. It's a good show. So everybody keep in touch with Jamie Dundee, G. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie.
See y'all soon. Take care, buddy.
Take care, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.